I'm John Odette. I'm a writer for Cinefied.com and do interviews, write-ups, reviews, that kind of thing. And so first of all, thanks for your time and for being here today. Tuner is a great film. It's a meet cute, a heist, a pseudo family drama rolled into one picture, and it has a great final sequence, which I'll come back to shortly. Um, but I want to go back in time real quickly here, and you have a deep back catalog of short films under your belt. How did working on short films influence your style as a cinematographer, and what innovative challenges did that work on all those short films did you overcome, and how have they shaped you?
Um, I think I did shoot a lot. I think I don't know if I have a full count, but it's probably over 40, 30 or 40. And I'd say that, for the most part, what it taught me is that, having an indie film mindset is sometimes something you're forced into, right? In those
Hmm.
situations, you usually don't have a lot of money or a lot of time or even experience and resources. And that's not necessarily something that should be rejected or avoided or dropped or you shouldn't necessarily be trying to level out of that. If anything, it's like a very useful exercise to be asked to shoot something in the most bare bones way. And I think what indie shorts give all filmmakers and craftspeople is like, the attention and focus on what really matters in a story, and
Hmm.
the intention and focus and discipline and intentionality of what do you actually need to accomplish that. Um, and how do you elevate something? How do you make something look bigger than its budget, more polished, more production value? And so I think it just hones your skills and it makes you a better craftsperson. And it really, I wish I had a better anecdote, but I think the other half of it is that it just gave me experience, and it gave me like I thought of it as like reps at the gym,
Sure.
in order to do shooting, listening, learning, creating. And that's sometimes rare. It's sometimes hard to get those experiences, especially when you're first starting out. So,
I think I lost you again a little bit.
oh, oh, sorry. I was just saying, I believe that like in order to become a master, you have to do the whole 10,000 hours of work,
Right.
discipline. And that's kind of what short films often give people, but it certainly gave me, is just the doing of the thing will get you more comfortable at the doing of the thing, which will, when you're at the limit and you need to ask for more, or you need a bigger budget, or you need XYZ in order to accomplish something.
Gotcha. Well, that was a great answer. Yeah, you got learn by doing. You can't learn by osmosis, that's for sure. Um, Speaking of Tuner though,
Yeah.
I read that shooting the character of Nikki, his hyperacusis, his hearing condition, was such a critical element because seeing his condition and using it as a plot device is not commonly seen in films, like that particular condition he has. And in your last film, or your previous film, rather, Knock at the Cabin, you were shooting like some of the plot details were the intruders, the family, this prophecy. What is your usual pre-production
Oh,
process for mapping out these heavy plot details, and how influential is the director, in this case Daniel Roher, in that collaborative context?
I'm a believer in that, like, film is a filmmaker's medium. The director is kind of the end all be all. I think the director's more important than the script, in many ways. And so in terms of Tuner and the mapping out of Nikki's hearing condition, that was like the first and foremost conversation that Daniel and I had,
Hmm.
because, you know, film and filmmaking is about putting you sort of in the driver's seat a lot of the time, in the seat, in the shoes of the character you're embodying or filming. And it can sometimes you can take many approaches to do that, and some of those approaches can feel heavy-handed, some of them can feel understated, and it's about finding the right approach for your film and your story and your character and your director. And so a lot of what we looked at were sort of examples of hearing conditions or hearing impairments or just moments like that, like even like Saving Private Ryan when the bomb goes off on the beach and
Hmm.
Tom Hanks's character is sort of dazed and it's this ringing that's going on and there's a slow shutter effect that Janusz Kaminski made.
Hmm.
You know, that's an effect. And we had to ask ourselves, are we interested in doing an effect or are we interested in doing something more like a film like Sound of Metal where
Yeah.
it feels like very real and grounded and like nothing has changed in the camera work scene after all that's changed is the sound design. And I think, I think we ended up somewhere in the middle where we were really more interested in the Sound of Metal.
Sorry, man, you keep cutting out, dude.
So what we did was we kind of found that we had like a test scene that didn't end up making it in the final cut. There's a scene in the movie where they're at a school and they're tuning the piano and having a conversation. And there was a scripted scene audience feel it. And when we were filming that scene, we put on a 65 mil lens and we put on a +2 diopter because I just wanted to be really close. I wanted, we wanted to be like in here
Hmm.
and make the ear kind of his ear and his eye and make his emotion really heightened and you kind of blur the background and you're just insular and you're just in that pain. And I remember that feeling like sort of the combo. It felt like, oh yeah, that's it. We weren't able to get closer with the lenses we had. We need to get really close and not even be able to physically focus the lens farther than his face. Like we
Hmm.
need to be in there, and it was handheld and sort of attached to him in the handheld operating. And once we kind of with the +2 diopter. Um and yeah, that felt like a good mix. It felt like, okay, we're not making anything artificial. We're not doing
Yeah.
any sort of construction in front of the camera between him and us. We're just trying to get very close and proximate and sort of tethered to him and shutting out the outside world. And that's essentially what the sound design is doing. So kind of felt like a comp like but once those things came together, yeah, it just kind of confirmed our suspicions and reinforced that like our choices were the right ones. And that, to your point, is all done kind of in prep. You have the intentions in prep, and then you try your best to execute them or even one up them in production. And then hopefully all it hopefully becomes like a synergy or synergizes in post.
Okay. Yeah, you cut out a little bit. It happens as technology,
Sorry.
but that's you're good, man. But yeah, I could really tell like the shallow depth of field was very, very immersive. So I figured that was a really intentional aspect of some of the storytelling was just getting it very shallow, very tight, and kind of
Yes,
drop
yes.
us in there with Nikki. Um, yeah, Tuner has. I want to quote you for a second here. Tuner has a lot of attractive qualities. It's entertaining, it's immersive, and has a lot of massive appeal because of its unique premise with a conventional universal setup. Are these ubiquitous qualities the reason you would call this film a movie?
Um, yeah, I think so. I think yeah, I've said that, and it's not just me. Daniel has said that too. Like,
Hmm.
what we mean by movie is like that, it's supposed to be entertaining. Like a lot of what we're doing is supposed to be inherently entertaining, thoughtful, emotional, enjoyable. you leave the theater feeling like that was a good use of your 2 hours,
Hmm.
and satisfying while also engaging. And so, yeah, I do think part of what makes it feel sort of uh yeah, like again, a movie just sounds like such a silly thing to say, but I can't think of another way to say it at the moment. But like, yeah, it
But it makes
the
sense
idea,
though, I think.
yeah, the idea being that like we're not avert expectations necessarily. We're not
Hmm.
trying to do something unprecedented or unfounded. It's just okay, you take this bit of romance, you take this bit of heist, you take this bit of music, film, and you smash them all together, and it's all from familiar territory in each one of those camps.
Hmm.
But by bringing them all together, having maybe a unique character you haven't seen on film all that much or ever before, then it all kind of coalesces and becomes both novel and familiar at the same time. And I think part of what makes it a movie is that it has, levity, it has um, heart, it has you know thrill, and it has needle drops that you love.
Yeah.
It's all supposed to just feel like just fun. At the end of the
Hmm.
day, like fun.
Yeah.
And so in terms of like the look of it or the cinematography of it, that that was part. That was always in the back of our heads of like we had a joke on set that like we weren't making art house garbage. I love art house cinema. I really love
Oh
art
yeah,
house cinema.
for sure, for
There's so
sure.
many movies that are just whatever, either esoteric or introspective or just really subdued and quiet that most audiences won't like. And
Hmm.
we kept kind of joking that like this isn't that. And it's okay to love that. It's okay to love the opposite of that. We're much, you know, did that
Yeah.
come through?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. No, it did. The spirit of what you were saying definitely got through, and I do agree with you. Not everyone's gonna jump on board the Criterion Collection and dive right in. Um,
Right.
there's a time and a place for all that stuff, and there's a time and a place to make an entertaining film. And Tuner is very, very engaging. It's very, very entertaining. It's very good, and
Mm.
I think a lot of that is attributable to some of the best shots in Tuner, which are like those intimate inserts that you put in of the piano components or Nikki working through and cracking the safe's mechanics.
Hmm.
Um, your work really made the film feel immersive, like I said earlier, with Nikki's journey at the center. Did you go into your established kind of bag of tricks from like your indie days, or was there a more organic approach for some of these more, delicate and technical shots that you put in here?
In terms of the insert work, some of it had a indie bag of tricks or approach. Like, my thought process a lot is when you're making a movie, there's so much money and time and actors' time being spent that no matter what, you should be starting every day with the meat and potatoes, getting the performance, getting the dialogue, getting the story, and then save the back half for the day for the extra bits, the bonus, and yada yada yada. And
Hmm.
it should all involve the actors as much as possible. And anything that you can segment out of that equation, anything that feels like it doesn't involve the actors, it could be done with a double or it can be done else literally anywhere. Like that's a really valuable thing to know in advance, and you can use that whenever you want, and you can put that anywhere. And Daniel and I had a joke that like those insert shots would be like in shot in my garage in LA. Like we were like, oh, that's going to be garage unit. Those inserts will be garage unit because they
Sure.
don't involve a huge cast, a huge crew. I can shoot them on my camera that I own with a
Hmm.
macro lens with my lights. And that's essentially what we did for most of it. There's some inserts you have to do in situ because of X, Y, and Z because you're seeing the background or it's a bespoke prop or whatever, right?
Right.
But there were a lot where you're inside of a safe that like the safe mechanism is the size of a pack of cigarettes. So
Hmm.
we literally shipped those to Los Angeles afterward. Like we maybe got one or two. We did a big insert day at the end of the shoot
Hmm.
because we had all these elements that we had fancy watches, we had the records, we had the car, like there were things that we had to get in Toronto that we did.
Hmm.
Um, and we just kind of lumped them all on one day. We added an extra day at the end of the shoot, and we did like 98 shots that day, something insane, where
Wow.
we shot two cameras shooting two different insert sets at the same time. And we had high-end watches come with security guards that we could only film for 15 minutes. It was this whole orchestrated thing. But the safe inserts, which you see a lot throughout the film, those are cheap. Those we just rigged to a C stand, and I filmed at our camera rental house. RE Rental was
Hmm.
so giving and generous, and they just let me come over to their place with their gear and film them there because we just needed kind of like a black box to film in. So we just filmed in their prep bays, and that was like a really valuable way to use our budget and time and manpower so that our actual filming days could be dedicated to the cast and the locations that we would never get back. And so that's sort of like the indie bag of tricks that
Yeah.
you're asking about.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Shout out RA Rentals.
Yes,
It
they're
came.
amazing. I love Ari. Ari is just they've been a really, really supportive um collaborator, with me and my projects, and I can't thank them enough for their support on this film in particular, particularly RE Toronto,
That's
and
fantastic.
RE New York. Yeah.
You touched on this earlier, but when I first heard about Tuner and saw the trailer, my mind immediately went to Baby Driver, the Edgar Wright
Hmm.
film. And after seeing the film, I was reminded a little bit of the auditory storytelling from Amadeus. And you mentioned Sound of
Oh
Metal.
wow.
Were there any other films or projects about music or heists that influenced your
Yeah.
choices with Tuner?
Yeah. Daniel was really thoughtful and put together a tremendous amount of references that were all kind of like tangentially related, some more than others. I really think like in terms of the mood we were trying to capture, like there's probably no better film than like Good Will Hunting. And some
Okay.
people have sort of caught on to that in on Letterboxd. Like we wanted this movie to feel like Good Will Hunting in terms of its like emotional core, its main character that kind of couldn't be understood or
Hmm.
felt out of place, and also his relationship with Minnie Driver in that film. Um, but yeah, I think Whiplash, again, a lot of people have sort of you seen right through us on Letterboxd and these other review places where it's like Whiplash, Sound of Metal, Good Will Hunting. Those were three really core films, but also Thief, the Michael Mann
Oh
film.
yeah, James
We
Caan.
watched we watched Rafifi in advance as well. What else did we watch together? It's funny. A lot of people said Baby Driver. I haven't seen Baby Driver since I saw it in theaters, but I did really like that movie at the time.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, but I it wasn't something we actively like referenced or discussed. It just feels like a bigger budget film and just like kind of a world of its own.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think those were the main ones. Sound of Metal is a big one. I just love that movie. I really
Oh
loved
yeah,
that film so much.
it's a
And
beautiful film. Yeah.
yeah, and it just felt like, oh, they really did that effect
Hmm.
and that world very well. And ours isn't quite the same, but it just felt like such a great starting off point to kind of use that as a reference.
Awesome. Yeah, our influences do shape us, that's for sure. Um,
Absolutely.
and going back to what I started this whole thing with, now I love the final sequence of the film. Just I absolutely love it. One of my favorite scenes from 2026 because I saw this movie in
Mm,
2026. It was a tender, sweet crystallization of Nicky's journey through his loss, his pain, his love, his ability to detect perfect pitch, all that. And also love the quick shots of Nikki and Ruthie sneaking the piano into Harry's room. I thought that was like a fun
Yeah.
little heist-esque kind of sequence. It was really cute.
hmm
Um, is there a shot or sequence in Tuner that you are the most proud of? Like you will put on your highlight reel?
Hmm. That's a really sweet question. You know, uh, there was something really, really special about the final shot of Havana in the film when
Hmm.
she's watching him play. We had chosen that location because it had great windows. It saw, out over this kind of mini little forest. Um, and we were filming during the fall, and we just didn't know if we'd capture the fall foliage, but we knew that might add some romance to it. And
Hmm.
we really did just get to that location at the very perfect time. Like we were worried because I think it was the first week of November or the last week of October, and we were like, are we gonna miss the window? But when we got there, the trees were just yellow,
Hmm.
and it was this beautiful color. And that was a day as a DP where I'm a little, I had zero control. The windows were just so big, we couldn't control them, and it was just about timing it. And we filmed it was the first day we did like non a no break lunch because I was like, we can't break for lunch this day. We'll lose the light. The windows of time for lighting are getting shorter and shorter
Hmm.
because it's November. And so I kind of like, we worked it out where Havana would break it one time and we'd have Leo, and Leo would break it one time, we'd have Havana. And it just really like, it was just so beautiful. Her performance, the lens we used, the push in,
Hmm.
the yellow leaves, like that really is like kind of a really stunning moment. And then I'd say the two other moments that really stick out to me are the concert. Her final concert performance was just like a very enjoyable, fun day to film where we had three cameras on the stage and lots going on and lots of depth. And you know, orchestra and music and score really adds so much to a movie. And I've just
Hmm.
never really been in that room to experience it live. And so actually doing it live and filming the live orchestral score, just like it just made everybody see the film in real time. You know,
Yeah.
normally you're filming scenes and the score gets added on later, and you're like, oh, that's so much better than I thought it would be. But this
Right.
was like, oh, I'm seeing it as it's going to be, and it was very impressive. Again, Havana and Leo's performances, and
Mhm.
really, they really learned how to play those pieces. And then the final one, sorry, I'm talking so much, but the final
You're
one
good.
is sort of the opposite of well, the final one is like the kind of Goodwill Hunting reference for me was like their argument scene. I basically was like, hey, I think we should do this just in like literally one shot on each of them, and we should shoot them at the same time. And we
Hmm.
like crisscross the cameras and cross shot their performances. And yeah, you watch the scene and there's like maybe one wide for the beginning and one wide for the end, but the majority of the scene is just two shots on them, one on him,
Yeah.
one on her, and like it just plays out that way. And it felt like a bold choice on set, just be like, we're just gonna get one shot, like we're just gonna run that one shot over and over and over, and it just really paid off. And I feel like that scene is so effective, and I
Oh yeah.
really like how it came out.
Yeah, that cross coverage was really good at kind of showing that balance between like kind of like that Good Will Hunting bit where many drivers struggling to learn the mathematics and Will Hunting is just this is Tuesday for me. This is nothing. And so that good
Yeah,
balance of that cross coverage was like it just added so much to that final scene. I was just very happy when I
yeah,
saw it. Um we're almost done here, man. I have one last question. It's a two-parter. Um and before I do that, just I want to say again, thanks for your time. And it
of
was
course.
great talking to you, man. What's the last movie you watched, and what are you working on right now?
The last movie I watched was The Devil Wears Prada 2 in theaters.
Excellent.
Um, and I genuinely had a good time. I genuinely enjoyed it. I had no expectations going into it, and I was like, I didn't even remember the first one, and I wasn't really sure why this one needed to be made. But I'm in Italy, and I thought, oh, I'll go see it. Some of my crew have worked on this film in Milan,
Hmm.
and and I watched it and I was like, this was exactly what they marketed, exactly what I thought it would be. It sort of hit that spot and it was great. And then the movie what I'm working on right now is a movie with the director of Tuner, with Daniel Rohr, and we sort of Tuner, when Tuner came out at the festivals, Daniel got a lot of script submissions to direct, and there was one in particular that he shared with me and was like, "What do you think of this?" And me and my wife and his wife were all like, "Yeah, duh, we should do the one in Italy. That sounds amazing."
No brainer.
Um, yeah,
That's
uh
funny.
and he really made it happen and can come to fruition, and we have a great cast, and it's with Netflix.
Okay.
So it'll probably come out, you know, later next year, summer of next year, something like
Okay.
that. But it's great. It's gonna be awesome. We're only 2 weeks through filming, but it's gonna be a really, really cool movie. And it has, despite it being a bigger budget with bigger names and all this stuff that feels larger than life, and the locations being, sort of Italian locations, it has a lot of kind of odd genre and tonal crossover to Tuner. So Daniel and I have been joking that there are, you know, we'll talk through a scene and we'll be like, "What if we do this?" And we go, "Oh, that's how we did it on Tuner." And it'll feel like we have kind of like a system,
Yeah.
or certain things, tendencies, preferences that we
Some
sort of lean
shorthand.
toward, and yeah, shorthand, and sort of a
Yeah.
structure, and it's helpful that it's honestly really helpful that we have Tuner and that experience to be like, oh yeah, let's do it like that. Even if it's a
Hmm.
different context or different scene, we have like, oh yeah, that scene in Tuner, yeah, 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 let's do it like that. Or um yeah, it's been wonderful and great, and I'm really excited to keep working on it.
Awesome. Well, Lowell, man, it was great talking with you today. I love Tuner, great film, great work, and I'm so excited to see what comes out next, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I have a movie coming out later this year called Other Mommy that you should check out. It'll come out October 9th.
Okay. Other
Yeah.
mommy.
Uh, Other Mommy. It's with
Okay.
Blumhouse and Universal and Atomic Monster, and it's directed by Rob Savage, and it's with Jessica Chastain and Jay Duplass, and it's a family thriller horror movie.
I'm sold. I'm
That's
hooked.
gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's really
Awesome.
fun.